perhaps one of the less understood things right now is personal debt and how we in the UK handle personal debt. And what I mean by that is that those who find themselves, for whatever reason, mortgages, house payments, goods, anything they buy, if they then get into trouble, what actually happens? Because you'll find that they fall into the clutches of various groups who are sanctioned by our councils and our government to actually help or advise, or in most places, punish people. What I mean by that, what I mean is that if you actually owe money, and I'll give you a classic example, a small, tiny debt, a parking ticket, a small fine, your council nowadays tends to work with private bailiffs, and a private bailiff can turn a £40 debt into a £2,000 debt in under a month. If a person couldn't afford to pay £40, how on earth are they supposed to pay £2,000? And something that particularly pains me is I see the complete inequality that we're now seeing more and more. A classic example again, recently the head of a very well-known website was awarded an honour for his services to financial services. I won't say the name of the website, but it's a loan website. And it offers people the chance to borrow money at a short-term rate. And that short-term rate is 4,000% APR. I'll say that again, 4,000%. If you think the average credit card is 17 or 19%, this is legitimised robbery. And the reason it annoys me, I think, is I just see more and more fractures in society where we seem to be blaming people with less money for being profligate or stupid or not understanding their borrowing. And while there may be something to the argument of don't buy things you can't afford or don't get yourself into terrible personal debt, as soon as somebody is slightly in debt, what we now do as a society is we triple, quadruple and make that debt impossible. Let me be clear when I talk about punishment. When we punish those, we are not just punishing them financially. We're talking about the breakups of families. We're talking about children suffering. We're talking about elderly people suffering. Councils and governments now have pushed people who are on a lower economic structure in society into where do they borrow money? Banks won't loan it to them. So the only places they can go are into these high street and online places to get money. And again, even though it's said you must borrow sensibly, and the websites and the shops will all say the same thing. We only mean this to be short term. But it's easy to say that to people who have no other access. So what effectively they say is short term becomes longer term. And of course, those people now struggle to service the higher level of debt. And of course, once they fall into arrears, the full force of the law can be brought against them. We can take their goods, we can imprison them, we can break families up, and all for often a smaller debt that then balloons into a much larger one. One sad factor, if we look at one of the biggest growth industries in the United Kingdom in the last 3 years, it is pawnbrokers, loan websites and shops, and private bailiff firms. If you ever wanted to take a pulse on a country and how it looks after its citizens, and especially those on the lower economic rung of the ladder, and those who are most disadvantaged, I think that will tell you all you need to know. So, we need to rethink. We need to re-look, and we need to humanise when people borrow money or get into trouble, how we then deal with them. So, if you've never thought about this subject before, I urge you to think about it now.